So I guess we got our answer, didn't we? We have no idea how long Monday Night Raw is going to last every single week, but welcome. That's 2 words. Into the last word, part of the BTT universe. We are here every single week now, starting at 11 p.m. Eastern time. Big announcement coming up in a matter of moments. But the second Raw on Netflix is in the books. I see all of our OGs already in the chat, and kind of the reaction that I thought we would get. Netflix paid all that money to get the same product USA got. Well, they have the same superstars. It's not like you're going to flip a switch and all of a sudden they're going to be different. But we got a lot to talk about. Also, if you're new to our brand here at BTT, we don't just talk about segment by segment by segment on Raw. We talk about the biggest storylines. If those happen to be on Raw, then that's exactly what we will do. Now, I can't do this show by myself. Let's bring in my partner. He's becoming a media darling. He is all over DTL and now BT. There's that big old smile. Love so much. Big Tommy C. Good evening, sir.
What's going on, Coach? And do you know Netflix is on Raw, but we don't even know how long anymore. That was ridiculous.
It ended 30 minutes early, and it's almost like they said, you know what, let's try this out. Let's see if the crowd likes 2.5 minutes. Let's see if the crowd likes. They're going to have to figure this out. We're going to go live every week at 11 p.m. regardless. But, Tommy, if they go 2.5 some week, 2:15, do you think it's going to be a big deal to the audience at home?
I don't think so if the show is good, Coach. I mean, they took the writing and just threw it out the window. It was just that was a terrible show, man. When you take 23 minutes in the first segment, right?
Yep.
Just to tell me you're being in the Royal Rumble? Are you friggin' kidding me? You couldn't think of another way to do this? 23 minutes. I timed it, Coach. First segment, alls I got, Rollins, Punk, and now Drew in the Royal Rumble. Big deal, top superstars. But man, 23 minutes, guys? Really? Man, they
Ladies,
just took the writing and said, we had the first week. By the way, you only had 2.5 million people US, okay? Don't make a big deal of it, dude. You shit on the second week of Raw.
Tommy, didn't we talk about being positive at the start of the show?
I'm sorry.
Could you put a positive spin on it just one time? Could you please? I'm begging you. I'm begging you.
Well, your girl Nia was on. That's a positive.
Oh my God, for who? And by the way, if you guys are coming in, hit that like button for us. So before we get into anything, we've got a gigantic announcement here on the show. So starting next Monday night, Tommy, next Monday night, we are going to be live not only here on a YouTube channel, but we're going to be live on all of the stadium platforms. So guess what? If people turn on DirecTV, guess what they're going to see at 11 p.m. Eastern time? The last word, that big old face that I love so much. Now, we're going to expand. We're going to expand. So starting next week, it's going to be 4 people on most weeks. We're going to have like a round table discussion. We're going to be on Amazon Prime Video, DirecTV, YouTube TV, all the platforms in addition to YouTube. It's a big deal for us. It's a really big step forward. And Tommy, we're 9 months in. Could you have ever imagined we'd be on Amazon Prime Video?
Dude, never, ever. When you called me 9 months ago, did I think we're going to be on DirecTV, which I've had since 1997? Are you kidding me?
That's so cool. That was always
no.
your thing. That was always your thing.
I love DirecTV. Yeah. Yep.
Apparently, I'm the only one that doesn't like when you turn into Tommy's beef on the start of the show because a certified
I'm
G
sorry.
says, "Come on, Coach, Tommy's starting the show with heat, straight fire." All right, let's start with the top. So if people didn't see it, so it's on Netflix now. If you didn't know, it went 2.5 hours tonight. Last week it went a little bit over 3. But you had CM Punk started the show. You had Seth Rollins come out. You had Drew McIntyre come out. All 3 of them said they are entering their name now, along with John Cena, into the Royal Rumble. And kind of because it seems like to me, because they had so much invested in that first Raw on Netflix, it seems like a really fast build to the Royal Rumble because we only got next week and I believe 1 week after that, I think, and then 2.5 weeks, and then we got the Rumble, right?
You're right. And that's a great question, Coach. Have we ever seen Royal Rumbles in the past where a lot of top superstars are throwing their hat in the ring? I've never seen that. Man, you got Cena, Roman, you got Punk, and then we just found out 3. These are top superstars. These ain't no jabronis. They're jumping in early. Have you ever seen it? I haven't.
When I was there, and of course, Tommy, I was in 2 that I almost won 1, by the way. I got down to the final 5. I thought I had it won, by the way. But I never. Usually a big superstar is a surprise or we don't know, so they can get that big reaction. But I feel like with the John Cena farewell tour, they want to build up everything Cena's in into a really big deal. I think it's the right move because now if you're Netflix, and I think we're going to see this a lot, you're going to cater to Netflix. So
Yes.
people subscribing, you want extra people. So now if you know all these guys are in it, don't you think maybe they can start getting the fringe fans and get the OGs back as well?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'd love to see a couple surprises here. I don't know what's going to happen on the men's side. I mean, I would love to see Brock come back, but that's still to be determined what's going on with him. Other than that, I think this Royal Rumble could be one of the best of all time.
I really do. Jay Neptali says that's amazing for you. Thank you, Jay. It's going to be really, really big. And we're going to be adding more shows during the week. We're going to be doing emergency pods during the day. So we're really going to grow, and hopefully, you guys find us wherever we are at. I like that they're focused on the big stars, but Tommy, the problem that I thought we would have, we had tonight. And Triple H alluded to it last week. He said on I don't even know what podcast it was that he had superstars coming complaining about not being on the very first Raw. He's like, wait a second, we got week number 2. You're going to be in the main event next week. So he kind of tipped his hand that it was
Mm,
either Damian Priest or Finn Balor that were complaining. So they
yeah.
were in the main event tonight. But Tommy, other than that, it felt disjointed. You said the writing got thrown out the window. They didn't progress any storylines a week ago. So that showed itself in a major way tonight.
Yep, it surely did. I mean, then we saw Rhea Ripley come out, right? And the main event was solid. I got to give him that. I thought, Damon, man, he works his butt off, and Finn can work in the ring. Some of the stuff was a little impossible to see with the neck brace and stuff like that, but I'm sure you'll get into that in a little while. It was just there was nothing progressed, coach, at all. That's what I'm pissed off about. Nothing moved forward except us knowing the 3 top guys are going in to the Royal Rumble. They didn't progress on anything. Of course, we saw the debut of Penta also.
And a lot of people like that. They really, really do. User 279 says this grew so fast. Says, well, that's the whole point. Thank you, though. I thought it was a good job for him. Um, and can you imagine if they would have let Chad Gable go over on
Oh,
Penta
yeah,
tonight? Oh my
yeah,
gosh, there was no way in hell. Chad is a great heel. He's a great, and I'm sure his ego doesn't care. If you
no,
do it correctly, it doesn't matter if you win or lose if
yep.
you do it. And I thought that match tonight, they both came out winners in that.
Yeah, Penta came over on top on that with having Chad Gable for his first match also, because we all know Chad can go. Man, he is smooth in that ring. He made Penta look like $1,000,000 tonight, and you're right. Chad gets it. He don't care.
User 279. I need to get a name because I read
Yeah,
him a lot. He's really, really smart. User, you need to get
yeah,
a name. I can't keep
yeah.
saying user 279. But he says, did anyone else not think it's so backwards how Finn is the heel and Priest is the baby face? I don't. I've always been
Mm,
a non-Finn Balor believer. He just got a new 5-year deal. Good for him. Damian Priest is one of those Latino wrestlers that's super cool. He's got tons of swag, and it's easy for people to buy into him because sometimes he does it in, he speaks Spanish, and then sometimes he goes into, his other background. So I think it's very easy to believe that he's a babyface, especially when he's with Rhea Ripley, who's a gigantic babyface.
Absolutely. Plus, I'm still the thinking because I worked in international, I ran international. They need a Latino star. He is still young enough to be that Rey Mysterio type. That's why they keep him a babyface, I think. Triple H is always thinking globally and money. And as we all know, the Latin countries are huge for WWE. We need another guy besides Rey Mysterio. And I always say Damon could be the guy. He's smart. He can work in the ring. He knows the language. He can cut a promo, and he looks good.
Nate G says Penta's not getting over, fellas. He's not Ray. He was a mid card guy in AEW. That may be true. And I think what
Mm.
fans need to understand when you come here or whether you come to Coach and Bro, you get combined here between the three of us over 60 years inside the business, over 55 years in the WWE. And Tommy, the one thing that we have learned over the years that you just can't flip a switch and make somebody get over. You can't flip a switch and make somebody a star. Sometimes it's luck. Sometimes it's having that it factor. And then sometimes it's working your ass off to the point where the crowd says, you know what? I respect that guy. Like Jay Uso, for example. He's been around for 15 years. And now he's more over than he's ever been. So it's
Yep.
really, really hard when you've got a fan base like this to get over quickly and have it happen like that.
But by the way, coach, if I don't think he's a mid-card guy to me. I think they could build him up pretty good. He has a pretty good following, man. Every vignette we saw and stuff like that, people couldn't wait for his debut. And when they heard the music, he got a huge pop. So I disagree with him. I think he's more than a big time mid card guy, as you know, to build somebody up. Nobody does it better than WWE. I think he's a little above that, and I think he's going to be a very solid guy here in the WWE.
Dolt says something we talk about all the time. Stop kicking out of finishers. There's no such thing as a finishing move anymore because we're getting kicked out at 2 3/4. And I don't know how many times Roman can spear somebody before they're going to lay there and die. But it's not just him; it's CM Punk's finish. It's all these guys, and
Yep.
I know what the thought process is on the other side of the fence. It's I'm going to look stronger. I'm going to look bigger if I kick out of his finisher.
Yep.
No, you're going to make him look weak. That's what you're doing. You're not putting yourself over. You're taking away from his shine.
Yep.
But that's the new thing.
Yeah,
All right,
and it's a holy shit moment too. It's like, oh, he kicked out. It's always like that anticipation. Oh,
exactly.
it's not over, right?
What did you make? Three big takeaways that I have tonight. The time, and then also this transfer portal. And to me, it's laughable because if people knew how little Triple H or Vince back in the day followed actual sports, they would laugh at the thought of let's make this like real sports. And now all of a sudden, my favorite female wrestler, Nia Jax, is on Monday Night Raw. That's great for me and my sense of humor. But all of a sudden, you're backstage and you're putting over the portal. You're putting over the fact that there's going to be superstars going back and forth. You got the Wyatt Six that Karrion Cross tells the Miz, "Were you responsible for getting them into the?" How the hell would the Miz be responsible for putting them into the transfer portal? Tommy, explain that to me.
I have no friggin' idea. It's just a way to keep the White Six off TV, move them to SmackDown until you decide what you're really going to do with this group right here, because they have just killed these guys to the nth degree here. And like you say, the transfer pro, Bailey's sitting in the crowd while Rhea's cutting a promo. And by the way, she dyed her hair purple just to try to be a little more relevant in this business, right? Because she is kind of a little boring. She's sitting in the crowd. So was she going to the transfer portal to talk to Pierce and say, "Get me over here"? I'm confused. I'm sorry.
GST says, "Is there a Pat Patterson of today that knows how to book?" That's a very good question. And I wish every wrestling fan, like true fan that's not jaded, that doesn't read the dirt sheets, all that, could I would, you know, that masterclass that you see always
Mm.
advertised on Instagram and stuff. Pat Patterson in the world of pro wrestling could teach a masterclass. And I used to love just sitting in the back of the room, listening to him talk. And the thing, well, you remember what he used to love the most? Vince would
Yeah.
go, "Hey, Pat, what do you think about the show tonight? It's the shits." And he would always, it was always the shits. Pat Patterson, it was always terrible because the psychology is not there. And Tommy, when I'm watching this show, and I thought you put it pretty well saying they threw the writing out the window. I don't know if it's necessarily that, but when you're doing 52 weeks a year and you put 4 months of effort into last week, and it was
Mm.
like you throw everything in the kitchen sink, and now you come back on Sunday and you go, oh, now we've got to do another show on Monday, and it's got to
Yeah.
be in San Jose, and it's got to be in
Mm.
California, so we got to pay it forward with the wildfires that are out here. That was my biggest concern, Tommy, is how are
Yep.
they going to maintain this momentum on Netflix after week number one? And that should be a concern from them. You got to have great storylines.
Yep. You're absolutely right. We've been calling this for weeks, coach. You're up here, I mean, with the WrestleMania type show, and then you come back with this show right here. I know it's tough writing, man. I know the head writer there. I know Ed Koskey. I hired the kid. I had him go over there to be a writer and stuff like that. He's a really good kid. He works really hard, but you don't know what they're up against, right? I mean, they could write something perfect and just throw it out the window, and Triple H and the rest of these guys could say, "Hey, I want to go this way with it." But for you to throw away the second week, that is totally unacceptable in my eyes, man. I don't know if it's anybody else or anybody in the chat what they thought of it, but to me, I thought it was totally laziness tonight, coach.
If I thought about And by the way, we've got QR codes all over the show. Get your BTT merchandise. We got to be coming out with a big Tommy shirt very soon. We have a lot of companies coming board next week, so super excited. So just take a look at the bottom of the screen, and also producer man throws up the QR code from time to time. And also, we're still presented by MyBookie. So if you haven't opened an account there, we encourage you to do that. Pat says the transfer what? Pat, I know you're asking a serious question, but it's kind of funny. We're asking the same thing. Because if you're not a sports fan in college football right now, the transfer portal is a big thing. That if you
Mm.
play for Michigan and you want to leave and go to Ohio State, you enter the transfer portal. So they're calling it that to try to be cool, to try to be relative with what's going on in college football. But Tommy, here's the thing. If you're paying attention to college football, why would they? And I thought Vince had a really, really good thought today on the Coach and Bro show. He said, how do you not know that this week is a big Monday night game? By the way, the Rams are finishing off the win. They're going to win by 18. Then next week,
Wow.
you've got the college football championship game. And so I would have waited and launched the Netflix on Raw the third week. And then, boom, you go right into the Royal Rumble. So you got big, big, big event instead of big event. What do we do for 2 weeks? Let's throw all the stars out there to start the Raw. And then you're kind of doing this, getting to the Royal Rumble. But that shows a lack of looking at it from a sports point of view. You got to understand, Tommy, that you're not going to compete with certain things. The NFL and the college football playoff. You're just not. It's not going
Nope.
to happen.
Nope. Coach, you stay in your lane. What we learned from the old regime back in the day, just like you said, you build, you build, you build, you build.
Tommy, yeah, there you
Yeah,
go. There
I
you
hit
go.
the mic. I'm sorry. You build and build and build until you what? You get to your go home week, you do it, and what's that lead into, coach? The PLE or the pay per view, right? To make you say, I'm buying that pay per view. I can't wait to see what happens here in the Rumble.
It's so
They,
weird because there's no more buying the pay-per-view like when you and I were there in my prime. I can't tell you how many shows I did every single month. That was what we called the go home show. And it was Raw, then SmackDown, and then we'd tape one back at the studio. And that would be the sell on Friday with the three big packages. And then you had to pay $69 or $79 to get it.
yeah.
Now the money's already in the bank. The money's
Hmm.
already been paid. And the world over, 85% of the world is going to get these PLEs on Netflix. So, Tommy, I ask you this: if everything is on Netflix and there's no pay per view, then how are fans supposed to differentiate between Raw on Mondays or a PLE on Saturday night?
Well, clearly, the first week of Raw on Netflix just answered your question, right? They put PLE match. We want to say back in the day, pay per view matches on a regular Monday night show, so they don't care anymore. You know why, Coach? They got guaranteed money. They got guaranteed money of getting 500 million for the next 10 years each year. That's why it's happening like that, Coach, and that's why that show was a throwaway tonight. Now, I don't know if Netflix gives a crap about the second week or not. And I know I'm harping on this, but watch how the progression goes the week after week and see where we go with this. Then we'll really know what's happening with it.
So it kind of feels like to me that this is what we dealt with in 2001 in the XFL. And hear me out on this. So the NFL on Christmas Day got 25 million plus to watch the NFL. Okay. Their argument is, oh, it was Christmas Day. Nobody was doing anything. Okay, I'll give you that. So what they got last week in the United States was 2.6 million people. A normal Raw on USA was 1.8, 1.9 million people. So an extra 700 grand with 4 months of promotion is not that great. But they go, let's go to the world number. Okay, let's go to the world number. The world number was $4.9 million. So you're in 85% of the world. Well, there's billions of people. And the NFL is going to outrate you by 6 times on your
Mm.
debut. And if you know anything about TV or anything about a show, you know that unless it's a new show, that could skyrocket. But Tommy, this show's been around for 35 years. So
Mm.
it's the same fan base. So that's not going to skyrocket. That's probably the biggest you're going to have for months, other than maybe a special tribute to Cena or Rock or something. I would be very, very concerned and really focused if I'm Ed Koskey and Triple H on really good storytelling because that's the only thing that fans will tune in for. And if it's like tonight, and again, I literally talked to Tommy, say, you know what? We can't be that negative anymore, but we got to be honest. And if we're
Mhm.
honest, everything was thrown in last week. And Tommy, if that's what we're going to get, the fan base, this is the worst and best fan base in sports. They will tell you exactly what they
Mhm.
like and more importantly, what they don't like.
Yep. And let's face it, like last week they gave you pay-per-view matches and you only pulled 2,000,000. That's not very good, man. How much higher can you go with the card that you gave us last week on your debut? And Lord knows how much they promoted. Every commercial we saw on USA or on Netflix was the debut of Raw on Netflix on 1/6, time after time after time, and you only walk away with 2.4, what you just said there, that's not very good. And you hit the ceiling with the card that you built up. Like you said, we've talked about a WrestleMania type card. That's
Type, it
not
was
good.
better. It's better than a
Yeah.
WrestleMania. It was
Mhm.
absolutely better than a WrestleMania. And somebody's asking. They said you should do away with the brand split. We've been
Well,
preaching. We've been standing on that hill forever. When you're talking about this kind of money, Tommy, this kind of money, I know it's always been a thing that Vince always wanted. It goes back 20 years. The brand
yes.
split and talent. Just so we're being honest, talent. Whenever you're coming up on a draft, or we always thought it was the dumbest thing in the world because you get used to a certain travel schedule. And if you're a Raw superstar, you would travel Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And if you're a SmackDown superstar in the old days, you would travel Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But what about those who were dating, Tommy? You had a lot of couples back in the day. So it wasn't just, hey, we're throwing you on SmackDown or Raw. It changed your entire life. But now, Netflix executives, if they walk in the room and they tell Triple H or Nick Khan or somebody else, I want those two cats on my show, what are they going to say at $500 million a year?
They're gonna say, "I'm giving
No,
you anything you want." Right.
anything you want. This show should have been the debut. It was way better aside from the Roman solo match. Did you think that? They
What?
thought tonight was better than last week. Jay Naphtali did.
Really?
Interesting.
Wow,
Interesting.
that is interesting. People have their own views, right? And everybody's not the same here, but I totally disagree with them. I'm sorry.
There's a couple of people in the chat. They don't like how the superstars are sitting in the crowd. It makes them look like a fan. I thought it was interesting that they did it last week because there were so many stars and you could only put so many on the show. But tonight, why do you think they would do that, Tommy?
Try to get star power on the I don't know, Coach Braun was sitting there, and I didn't even know they said he was sick or hurt. I mean, he's one of your top superstars, and the second week of Raw, he's sitting in the crowd. I mean, he's one of your top guys.
I
No.
think he should be pushed to the moon. I love Braun Breaker. I
Yeah.
love Braun Breaker.
Yes.
He was a great Intercontinental Champion, just like the new women's Intercontinental Champion. Um,
Valkyra.
what's that?
Lyra Valkyra. She won.
Lyra, yeah, Valkyra. And so I've been singing the praises of Chelsea Green being the new United States champion. But Tommy, and I don't want this to sound sexist or misogynistic or in any way, but the Intercontinental Championship has always been like one of the big male championships of all time. And now to start it right now, within a month of the United States Women's Championship, it feels very forced to me when if you had enough female talent at that level, and please do not tell me Nia Jax is at that level. Don't tell me that. And then Bailey, I still believe they are punishing her because her best friend is
Is
uh, uh,
Monet.
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 What
Yep.
do we? Why do we call her that? It's
Uh,
just Sasha Banks to me. It's Sasha
yeah.
Banks to me. By the way, we had somebody in the chat today, Tommy. We've got a really big live number right now, too, by the way. We had somebody in the chat that said, I love you, coach. I love your show. But what you said about her is absolutely ridiculous. And then she went on to say, it was a lady named Liza, I think. And she said, now I understand she's not a big draw, but still what you said was ridiculous. I said, no, those were Tony Khan's words. Tony
Mm.
Khan said that she was the biggest draw that basically he had ever done. 4 titles walking around, can't cut a promo to save her life. I would love to know at this level who people think is a bigger disappointment, Sasha Banks, Mercedes Monet, or Nia Jax. because Nia Jax's been given like 8 opportunities at the highest level and still has not gotten any better,
It's a great
promos
question.
or in the ring.
It's a
What would you
great
say?
question.
What would you say?
I'd have to say it would be Naya. I mean, Monet's been to Japan and she really established herself. And she's not a great worker or anything. She's not bad. So I would think it would be Naya. You're right. They've given her a million chances. And it just seems that you see the same thing. Like tonight, headbutting Rhea Ripley. And like, I hope they're not going to start an angle with these two because that would be just absolutely terrible. Because you got to get somebody you can work with. And big people can work. And she has a really hard time being safe with the other superstars, if you know what I mean.
There's been many complaints over the years from different superstars that she's worked with that in she's just unsafe. And I've been in the ring with a lot of guys, and you feel a different kind of way when you're in there with somebody who is very safe and somebody who is not very safe. And we all know who they are.
Mhm,
I think Nia because she will seriously hurt somebody. GST, I agree with that. And everybody's like, "Coach, you're a hater." You just no, I've been there with her. I've been in the ring as well, and I know what it feels like. And Tommy, when a lot of her moves are they impactful? Yes. Are they dangerous? Yes, they are. And somebody in chat said punishing Bailey for her relationships is a very Vinnie Mac thing to do. I guess it probably is. But Tommy, when you're a big star at one company, this is what you have to understand. There are certain things you cannot do. You can't go to public appearances with another big star from the other company. You just
mhm.
can't do that. Gunther, currently the world champion, wasn't anything on the first edition of Monday Night Raw. 279, welcome back in. Welcome in all your friends. So as we move forward now, because Tommy, let's remember Triple H has always maintained that the World Heavyweight Championship has got to be the most important thing. So he's always maintained that it's got to be the last match on every big PLE. Well, not only is it not the last match anymore, Gunther's not even on half of these shows. So if he's not, how does he remain the world's heavyweight champion?
I do not know. I think he's an easy out for Mania, right? I mean, we know Cena, just for argument's sake, we say Cena wins the Rumble. Of course, he gets his choice, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to pick Cody Rhodes. And even how great Cena is, and as a business, you would never put Cena over clean with Cody Rhodes. It just tarnishes Cody Rhodes. And I know he's a potential Hall of Famer, John Cena, but how much easier is it for him to beat Gunther, who's the champ? Everybody would look at it and say, "Yep, I agree with that." And it doesn't hurt Gunther at all. You just lost to a potential Hall of Famer. But on the other side, with Cody, I think it would hurt Cody a little bit.
Well, I agree with that. 279 says coaching Tommy. The more and more I watch of Gunther, the guy, you guys are right. He is boring. Tommy, we're not here to just
No,
insult people. We're not
no,
here to hate them.
never.
We could care less. We're just
Right.
here to keep it real. And keeping it real when I watch him, and I've tried. I've really tried to enjoy him. And it kind of takes me back to Steven Regal back in the day. I mean, it's his style, very mechanical, stiff with the shots. And to me, in 2025, if you're going to get these young cats like 18 to 34 that spend the money, you got to be excited. You got to be like Jey Uso. And now I think they're trying to give Gunther the cool rub with Jey Uso. And
Mm,
to me, it just doesn't work. But Jay says Gunther destroyed Jay on the mic. That would be the one weakness that I believe Jey Uso has. He's not
mhm,
fantastic on the mic, but he found a gimmick that works. That
mhm.
works. The entrance, and I think his work rate has gotten a lot better since he separated from his twin.
Yep,
I like him by himself, and if truth be told, I'm sure he likes it by himself because he didn't have to rely on when you're in a tag team. You got to rely on that, and if your tag team partner is in trouble, doing something hurt, then you're usually out too. And that's
yep.
for 14 years until now, the world that Jey Uso had to live in.
Yep. You know what I noticed now?
Is
If you
that
saw Jey Uso tonight, and they're doing this a lot. They did it with Cena in LA with the LA Dodger colors. He had the San Jose Sharks colors on tonight with that. That was a new Yeet t-shirt. And I think in the middle of the shirt, little low, they had the Sharks logo there. WWE's really get into localizing merchandise for top superstars who sell a lot of merchandise, and it's very smart, but you got to do it in a calculated way, like you knew in the past, like they did it for Brock Lesnar. Of course, I would buy the LA shirt if I was a Cena guy. And then he came out tonight, one of the coolest dudes we know, and he had the San Jose Sharks colors. That was the first thing I noticed on his new T-shirt. Not sure if it was the Sharks logo, but it looked like it to me. So if somebody can help me out in the chat and they saw that, let me know.
There's only two guys that I can ever remember that they did that for. Brock is the most recent, but when I first got there, The Rock was so
Mhm.
popular that they would make his "Finally the Rock has come back" to whatever town they were in on the back. And if you're in Des Moines and you make Des Moines T-shirts, guess where you're not going to sell those T-shirts? The next night in Kansas City. So you better know that all of them are going to sell. But he was so popular and everyone would pop off. I remember Derek,
Yep.
who ran all the merchandise. I
Yeah.
remember him saying, "Man, Rock's making so much money." And then you had John Cena. At one point in his career, he's making 37 cents of every dollar was John Cena merch.
Get out. Really? Wow.
37%, Tom. Imagine we used to get checks every 3 months. Mine would be like $78 and Cena's would be in the millions. In the millions. I'm not kidding you. By the way, Garin says we're still better than the show we watched tonight, even with the technical difficulties.
And user 279 says, I believe it was the shark. Thank you, user.
There you
In the
go.
Yeet shirt.
All right, we're gonna
Smart.
shorten it up.
Smart.
We're just calling him 279 from now on,
Yeah,
Tommy. All right,
279.
279. And get a
Yep.
name, please, because we love you very much. All right. So Tommy, coming up after the show tonight, we got such a big reaction to part one of my visit with Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias, at his compound. Well, that was nothing. Because coming up tonight, as soon as this show is over, we drop part number 2. And that's where we get into the wrestling stuff. Tommy, he has a wrestling hallway, walls, merchandise. It's like something I've never seen before. In fact, why don't we show people a little snippet from part number 2 right now? I'm here with the man himself, Gabriel Iglesias. All right, Fluffy, you're taking us behind the camera today.
But if I'm taking you behind the camera, then I'm taking. There you go. All right, there we go. It's got clearly we have the same barber. Dude, if we hung out together, we look like a pair of nuts. You realize that?
So, talk me through this first, because I can't even believe you're allowing Behind the Turnbuckle into your world. This is not the only warehouse, correct?
That is correct. Say hello to the Fluffy Compound. I am a collector of Volkswagen buses.
Where did your love of all of this start for you?
My first car was a 1968 Volkswagen bus, much like the one I'm going to show you down there. However, it didn't have that level of care. My bus was ragged. It cost me $400. My brother bought it for me. It was 18 shades of primer, and it was very much. It was a Picasso on wheels. I spent more time pushing it than driving it.
So I
He's a great
apologize. I
guy.
misunderstood. So we still have a couple more days for part number 1. But Tommy, he was heavily featured last Monday night on Raw from the Staples Center. He told me, because we're boys now, we text.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I apologize. You don't have any celebrity friends, but he said it was amazing. And I know you watched his new comedy special on Netflix
Yes.
also.
Very funny. Very funny.
He did give you free tickets last year, though. He
Yeah, he
did.
did. Yep.
And you've gotten to see him since I've gotten to see him. So
Yes.
I'm jealous for that. But in the next week or so, I don't know the exact date, but probably next Monday night when we launch on Stadium. Part number 2 is amazing. That tease was still a great tease by me, because I'm telling you right now, him and Mr. Home Alone got good reactions. Tommy, I've never met a celebrity, and we've met a lot of them, that loves wrestling, like truly loves wrestling more than Fluffy. Like, it's in his DNA. He
Yep.
loves it. Yeah.
Yep.
I asked him one time, I said, Would you ever take a bump, or would you ever get in the ring? And he said, hell to the no. He said, I have to draw a line. And you remember Rob Schneider, the little
Yes.
comedian? He was a
Yes.
part of the Diva Search all those years ago.
I remember that.
And I remember, and I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to embarrass him. Let's just say he was inebriated, and I had to go to his dressing room to get him for the segment. And the segment was all these girls doing fighting with like the sticks, and and he was supposed to help me be the MC. He was so inebriated that when we got up to uh, the backstage area we called Gorilla,
Really?
I remember Vince pulled me aside. He goes, "Coach, what the hell's wrong with him?" And I said, "I don't know, Vince. I don't know, but we're going to give it a shot." Needless to say, it is not in my Hall of Fame for best segments I've ever been a part of. Let's just say that. You never know what you're going to get with celebrities. You never know what you're going to get. But Gabriel's awesome. And we, of course, follow us at Behind the Turnbuckle. We'll let you know when part number 2 is going to drop. If you haven't watched part number 1, you have to. And by the
Yes.
way, Tommy, all that footage, I shot it myself.
I saw that.
I saw
Yeah,
it.
it's
I did
very,
it myself.
very
Yeah.
nice. Yep.
We're giving away a 1-month BTT premium membership right now. The link is, if you look in the chat, we want you guys to enter. If you want to be a part of it, hashtag new pod order to be considered for a premium membership. What do you get with that? Well, you get the War Room, which is a show we drop every single Friday. Also, we do live watch-alongs for big events, and we will be adding more stuff too. So if you want to be a premium member, write hashtag new pod order into the chat, and producer man will figure out the winner at the end of the show. So after 2 weeks, Tommy, let's put a bow on everything that is Monday Night Raw. Would you consider the rollout a success on Netflix? Or, and I texted you earlier today, I said, I feel like I've seen no promotion for Monday Night Raw tonight, but I know what we had before. I felt like there was nothing tonight as far as promotion. So what do they do going forward with 2 weeks left before what I consider to be the second biggest night of the entire year?
Well, you gotta bring it next excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. You gotta bring it next Monday. You can't just have nothing happening in the show at all, and nothing happened in that show at all that I could think of that would lead to a Royal Rumble. So now you get back on your horse and say, "Hey, man, we saw what happened here. I would love to see the number for this Raw, like, if it's gonna be 2,000,000 or more." I doubt it very highly. So now you gotta have next week's Raw's gotta be a banger. I don't know how you do it, but that's why you're on the writing team. And then the go home week is even bigger to make you say, I'm watching this PLE. Can't wait. It's one of the biggest PLEs WWE. It's probably the second biggest. Would you say that? Besides Mania, coach, or would you think
No, this
SummerSlam?
this is the second biggest night of the year.
Sure.
It's bigger than
Yeah.
SummerSlam. It's bigger than Survivor Series because it sets up what WrestleMania is going to be. And this year we got 3 full months because WrestleMania is at the end of April. And normally, I mean, my first WrestleMania was in March. WrestleMania 16 was my first one. That was in March. So they've got to
Yeah.
fill 3 hours. And Tommy, if AEW is going to get the venom that they get for bad ratings, then those same people that do those same shows has got to give the same venom to WWE. I
Mhm.
feel like now, because I was talking to some people who were at the last event, and they do these post press conferences after the event, and it's basically fanboys that are in there. Oh, I can't believe I'm next to Triple H, and they ask these ridiculous questions. And the only real journalist, in my opinion, is Chris Van Vliet and maybe one or two others. And so they're the ones that I listen to. They're the ones that I respect. And we've got to be honest about this number. And the whole point to going to Netflix was to get that worldwide audience on one platform instead of every single country having different, Sky Sports one place, this place in Germany. It's in one place. And Tommy, we don't go north of 5 million in week number 1.
Wow.
I would be very, very, very concerned. One other topic we want to hit on because it got a lot of play in the media this week. And you and I worked for Vince McMahon for combined 45 years plus, right?
Yes.
And I've been very conflicted with my personal feelings about him, but certainly not my professional feelings about him. And he tweeted out, and it was very misleading, and that the case was over. Well, the case with the federal government and is over. He had to pay back basically 1.7 million. He has that in his back pocket in his wallet. Uh, the Janelle Grant case is still ongoing, and she's going to use the SEC case to help her personal case. But it's the first time that Vince has tweeted and has been out there, and I did not like the fact that he did it that way because it's very, very misleading. But it says to me, if he can get this thing done, and if he just would have paid her to the 3 million, Tommy, it would be over. The whole thing would
Mhm.
be over. But now, if he gets this to arbitration and he can get another number to pay her, do you see a scenario where Vince could make a full comeback? Because word on the street is out here in Los Angeles, he's already rented office space and he already has 2 or 3 people working for him.
Boy, that's a tough question. By who would work for him, right? I mean, if you're a superstar, would you go work for Vince after finding all this out? I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. I don't know if he stays in the wrestling business. I don't know who he can get. I'm really being serious about this. Like, you've seen we're hearing everything that came out, what's going on, what's going to happen afterwards after the Janelle case, right? And they're all civil cases. So he's not going to do any time unless somebody else comes up with more charges and then more charges after that. So it would be for me, and I heard DiBiase said that somewhere on Twitter that he heard Vince was building a roster. Who are you building with? That's what I want to know. What How are you building a roster? Are you paying people now to build a roster? Because you would have to do that for somebody to say, "Yeah, I want to work with you." And by the way, people would only watch to see the interest to see what kind of product he would bring to the table. Oh,
279 said exactly what I was going to say. He can't be the face of it. He's got to be an angel investor. And I have seen crazier things in the wrestling industry. When you want it bad enough, and it's really hard to find it, meaning funding, a place to work, a place to make that kind of money, I would be stupid to say it absolutely would never happen. I would be dumb to say that could never happen. This is the wrestling business.
yeah,
And when you're in the business and you've got somebody willing to back you with $10 million or whatever the price tag might be, and there are certain people in the world, we get stuck in the United States and our minds are like,
yeah,
well, this would never happen in the United States. There's a lot of other countries that still like him. There's a lot of
yes,
other countries that would do business with him.
yes,
And it's I'm just saying that as time goes along, but Tommy, time is also not on his side. He is 79 years of age. I
yes.
met him on his 54th birthday 25 years ago. First time I ever shook his hand. And now
Wow.
you're almost 80 years old. Nobody's seen you in a minute. It's going to be a big story once he settles with Janelle Grant, but how long could that take? It could take several more months if he's not willing to make it a big number. If I was worth $6 billion and I'd done something that he's alleged to have done, I would have paid it first and foremost. I would have been done with that. But you pay it now because you realize you can't take it with you. I'm almost 80 years old. How much longer am I going to be alive, let alone healthy enough to work? And if he's not willing to do that, then he just can't get out of his own way.
Yep. You're right, and you're right. If I'm him, I wanna end this quick. Let's go to arbitration. All right, what's the number? 5,000,000, 10,000,000? Pay the number out. You're worth $6,000,000,000, by the way, or 4.5. It doesn't matter. When you're up over $1,000,000,000, you're a friggin' you could do anything you want. Perfect vehicle for him would be TNA, right? It's established already. They have their own superstars. He can make Joe Hendry the big star. He could build him up like the old Hulk Hogan days, right? That's one thing he can do. So, I mean, jumping on TNA wouldn't be a bad idea. If I'm TNA and I own it, I would definitely listen because he has the cash.
There are other historical figures that, and I know it has to do with women, and I'm not even going to touch on that. There's no way.
No.
But like I thought about Michael Vick the other day, and I was like, he spent over 2 years in prison for dogfighting years and years ago. A lot of young fans today don't remember this. He just got hired to be a head coach at a college football in HBCU. That's the ultimate comeback story. So
Mhm.
I don't like cancel culture at all. I think it's bad, but in certain instances, it's the right thing to do. So I'm never going to say it's not going to happen because he's already signed people. But Tommy, I think it's going to be probably not in 2025. Not in 2025.
Yeah.
I really believe that. All right, one more thing. If you miss it at the top of the show, our big announcement starting next Monday night. You can watch it here if you want to be a part of the chat on YouTube, but also we're going to be live. And Tommy, we're going to have 4 people every week. We got the great Gabby AF is going to be a part of the show next week. If everybody in the chat knows who she is, she used to be executive producer or associate producer on Busted Open. Now she has her own podcast. And Tommy, not for nothing, she's going to upgrade the product just a little bit.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. Just a tad. Yeah, she's going to make us look really, really good. She's super smart in the wrestling business, and she could become the new star of the show, Tommy. No offense to me or you.
That's fine.
Yeah. So every single Monday night, 11 o'clock. And then we're going to rotate talent. We're going to have former WWE talent on. We're not just going to be doing lip service kind of content. We're going to do real stories, real pro wrestling stories every single Monday night. Then we will replay throughout the week on Stadium, wherever Stadium finds Amazon Prime Video, DirecTV. And I know for you, it's DirecTV has always been your thing, man. You've been
amazing.
And we're going to be on there, buddy. So I'm super proud of you. I'm super proud of how far you've come.
Proud of you bringing me on board, man.
So we're just getting started. Do not forget, every time we put that QR code up on the screen, buy a piece of BTT merchandise. It really helps the show grow. We're going to be starting a newsletter. We're going to be starting just a ton of stuff. Just a ton of stuff, as much as we could possibly do. But we're doing it because of all of you at home that tune in late on a Monday night, on a Friday. If you're a premium member, we just can't thank you enough. All right, that's going to do it for now. BTT Plus members, don't forget every Friday we drop the War Room. And also, we drop about 10 to 12 minutes every week on one big topic as well. This week will probably be the Gabriel Iglesias, but just follow us on social media, turn on your notifications, and every time we do drop content, you will be notified. For my man, congratulations! Our very next BTT Plus member, Producer Man will get you all of the details. That's pretty cool, Tommy. That was very dramatic. That was very, very dramatic. Very cool.
Some Producer Man.
By the way, also, I don't know if Coach and Tommy mentioned this, but JBL returns next week.
Yes.
On what show?
Yeah.
On Raw?
On Raw, yeah.
Did I miss that?
Yeah, they had a graphic up. Yeah.
What's he doing?
I don't know.
He's going to be a talent?
No. Well,
I mean, he's going to be wrestling or what?
I don't think so.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we also have we're going to have a new presenting sponsor, Tommy, every week. We're working with this company. It's going to be really, really cool. We want to start getting as many companies involved as possible. So the nice thing is, Tommy, I get the products first. You don't.
Okay.
I do. So
it's not Blue Chew, is it?
That would be sent to you first, my friend. 279 said, yeah, it was just a graphic, fascinating. No wonder I missed it. I had to run out for a few minutes. I was like, damn. But I love JBL. You know, him and I used to golf together. We did a betting show during COVID together. So I wish him nothing but the best. And now he's a part of Sportskeeda and the shows that they do over there. We moved off of their platform for a lot of reasons, but good luck to him. Because I know he missed it, and he's really one of the great talkers in the business. All right, that's going to do it for the last word. We'll see you next Monday night live on Stadium and Amazon Prime and DirecTV. For Big Tommy C, for Intern Dan, for Producer Man, I am the coach. We'll see you next time right here on The Last Word.